What's going on, everybody? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and as you can tell by today's thumbnail, we're talking about the next expensive card for the Digimon card game. And it's probably one that people have not fully dived into yet, but this is only going to wait for a matter of time, as we are looking at Vortex Resonance and why this card will eventually be the next expensive Digimon card. Now, when it comes to Digimon staples, you really have to think about what a card is doing for the entirety of the game instead of just for specifically one deck. Now, we've seen good staples in the forms of like the trainings and the memory boosts in the past, where these cards have just absolutely changed the way you play Digimon because they just boost consistency and power. But ultimately, it's because a strategy was very strong at one point that these cards were very expensive. And then after reprints, if those strategies have started to fall out of the metagame, all of a sudden these cards are now slightly cheaper. They're not really going to see as much rampant price expenses because the specific deck is now out of the metagame. So obviously this is what happens with most card games where staples rotate around. However, when it comes to figuring out what card is going to be the next kind of big staple, you really have to just think about what the game is gravitating towards or what type of support is coming for a deck that allows it to abuse this one card that already exists and turn it into something crazy. For instance, I have X Antibody Protoform, which is, in my opinion, proof of this theory, where this card was never super expensive. It was very cheap at one point, but slowly crept up as people started to care more about using it and playing it. As the price right now for X Antibody Protoform proves that this specific strategy that used this card are going to love it, and people who need to play the Protoform obviously have to get it, so the price is up all the way to $40, and that happens naturally. Now, the reason I have the topic of discussion being Vortex Resonance is that this card is only going to be cheap and it will be expensive in a matter of time. Now, what makes Vortex Resonance so impactful? Well, obviously, if you don't know, I'm going to read its effect. So for those who do know, you'd be like, okay. But starting off, if you have a Digimon or Tamer with the Liberator trait, you may ignore this card's color requirements, already really good. Additionally, for the main effect, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and you get to add 1 card with the Liberator trait among them to the hand. And you obviously return the rest to the bottom of your deck, but then one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card in the hand with the Digi-Evolution cost reduced by 4. For its security effect, you may play 1 card with the Liberator trait and play cost of 4 or less from your hand or trash without paying the cost. Then you get to add this card to the hand. Okay, so starting off, what does Vortex Resonance do that other cards can't? The first thing that it does is that by proxy of Liberator-based strategies, this card is generic to all of them. So any deck that carries Liberator Tamers or Liberator Digimon, it's going to be pretty insane because this card can be used. So don't let the green, yellow, purple kind of fool you here. Additionally, when it lets you look at the top 3, already that's really good because it's kind of like its own searcher. But if you're playing a large amount of Liberator cards in your deck, or pretty much all Liberator cards, that includes Tamers, traits, Tamers, options, and Digimon, you're going to be finding any of it. So you can just literally take anything you want. Its second effect is also very important because in a late game, if you need to press your opponent and still search, this card is fantastic because then you're going to be able to Digivolve immediately with the Digi-Evolution cost reduced by 4. This means for like 3 cost, if you're going to try to not pass the turn, you can also Digivolve into a Mega in your hand alongside getting a search off and basically getting some setup if you need it for, say, I don't know, any type of level 5, 6, or 4, or 3 you need as a follow-up. So all these cards are available and viable for the strategy to use. Finally, for its security effect, I actually think this is insane because if it's checked and you're playing a Liberator deck, you're basically able to free play anything with a play cost of 4 or less. This means all of your Tamers and all of your level 3 and lowers, and maybe some champions if they are made to like play cost 4 or lower. But the point here is after you play that card specifically, you get to add this to your hand. So effectively, it's a reloop setup for more consistency, more power. And the biggest reason I want to talk about this card being the next big thing in the future is that Liberator is only going to continue for the foreseeable future right now. We know that there's more specific actual characters in Liberator who have not had their cards out. They have not received their support yet for their decks. We see them, so we know that they're going to get more support. This also means in the future that they're going to probably get even more support as the series continues in the way that it is. So this just means that Vortex Resonance will continuously be gaining traction as the set goes on, and it's only a matter of time before one Liberator strategy really just takes the cake and is very consistent, or a Mad Lad actually takes a Liberator strategy at the moment and pushes it into the competitive sphere with using Vortex Resonance. So this card is really on a volatile plane in my opinion. What makes Vortex Resonance such an interesting card to talk about is that this card just screams it's going to be broken and it's just waiting for its time to shine. So the biggest reason I make this video too is to let you guys know that if you plan on getting this specific card, it's better you pick it up while it's cheap instead of while it's expensive. Because unless they announce a reprint for this card like immediately, this card will definitely only go up, and I'd rather you guys get it while it's cheap or cheaper than pay for what you want. Like I said, if you're thinking about taking a Liberator based deck to any type of local, like high tier locals, to regionals, to any big event, I personally would say get this card while you can, because if you don't want to shell out more than you need to. I can't stress that enough. Another thing I'll say is just a little bit of information for, money spending. If you want to save money, it takes effort and time. And I do think that this is an effort and time situation that if you want to play a hobby and enjoy it well, and you want a card and need a specific card, get it while it's cheap. Because I played Yu-Gi-Oh for too long, that game will hurt you because you waited too long on something and now it's too expensive. The very same principle goes for Digimon as well. Get these cards while you can. Do not wait until they are too expensive. It will hurt you. But Vortex Resonance is ultimately a card that I think that it's just going to go up in terms of its viability. It's going to arguably be one of the better cards going forward in just Digimon the card game. So like I said, it's kind of like Protoform in the sense that this card is just very good generically, but it's only good for the Liberator based strategies, so do keep that in mind. But the point is, I think Digimon is going to go Liberator completely. Not like all decks will be Liberator, but like a lot of good decks will start to be more Liberator focused. So it's only a matter of time, like I said before, there's a Liberator deck that's broken, and this card will probably be a mandatory 4 of in the deck. So like I said, get it while you can. You don't want to have to shell out more than you need. Like I said, that's just my piece on it. I hope this helped you out when you're trying to decide if you want to pick up this card or if this card is for you. Vortex Resonance is a fantastic card. I don't think that you can ignore this card if you want to play Liberator decks. But that's all I've got for you guys today. And I do hope this helped you out, as this has been Brad, your friendly budget tier focused guy when it comes to your card games. And as always, I'm signing off. And for all of you out there, to sign on.